Okay, I want to make some homemade cranberries that you might want to have for your Christmas dinner. I like the cranberry jelly. I like the canned cranberry sauce, but I also like to make it myself. It's not that difficult to do. But I've got an 8-ounce package of just fresh cranberries, and I've put them in my pan here on the stove. And I've already added about a half a cup of sugar. I'm not using a lot of sugar. Typically though, with a 12-ounce bag of cranberries, you'd use a whole cup of sugar. I'm using about a half a cup, and actually I'm using xylitol instead of sugar. Xylitol is a sugar replacement. It's made actually from birch trees, and it doesn't raise your doesn't affect the glycemic index. So I typically like using it over regular sugar. And I'm also adding in about 3/4 of a cup of, you can use orange juice. This is the juice of one orange, and then I finished, that made it about 1/4 of a cup, and so then I added just either, you can add some mango juice or just regular additional orange juice, but this is going to give you that nice orangey flavor. So I've added that in. We're going to turn the stove on, and we're actually going to bring this to a boil, and we're going to cook this down. It won't take that long, maybe 15, 20 minutes or so, because all you really are wanting to do is you're wanting to cook the lemon down, and you want your cranberries to cook, and they'll actually pop and open up once they have cooked. So we're going to just kind of let this sit here on the stove, and once the cranberries, once it comes to a boil, I'll stir it again a few times, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on it and watch the cranberries as they begin to cook. It'll thicken up. We'll probably add a little bit of cornstarch to it as well to thicken it a little bit more, and the cranberries will start to pop and open and release some additional juices. So we're going to let this cook, and then I'll be right back with you. It was almost 15 minutes, not quite, and you'll hear the cranberries will actually pop as they're cooking. I did put a lid on it for a little bit to keep some of the juice from popping out, but you need to keep an eye on it because it will bubble over even with a lid on it. And Bruce is showing you the mess on my stove that I'm going to have to clean up. But anyway, you can see how it looks. It even thickened up a little. I tasted it, and for me it was sweet enough, but I kind of like things tart, so you may want to sweeten yours up a little bit more. All right, I have some arrowroot here. You can use arrowroot, you can use cornstarch, and this is my tablespoon, and I'm going to add probably, well, I'm going to start with just, if you can see it, I probably should have used a teaspoon, but I probably have maybe a couple of teaspoons there. And let's just stir this around and see how it will thicken up. It should dissolve very nicely. And one reason I like using arrowroot is it doesn't seem to clump like cornstarch does. I'm going to add just a little bit more, but when this cools in the fridge, it will thicken up a little bit more. It just depends on how kind of gelled you really want it. So I added maybe another teaspoon to it. Not an exact science. I mean, there's plenty of recipes, and I'll post a recipe for you. Plenty of recipes that you can follow for this. Okay. Now, before I pour it in my bowl, can you see how it's started thickening up? And that's going to thicken up even more as it begins to cool. I have the zest of the orange before I juiced the orange. You always want a zest before you juice. And I put the zest in, just add a nice little bit more orangey flavor to it. And I'm going to add, you know me, I've got to try to figure out how I can add in some of the Cocoa Exchange products, and so I decided I was going to try the cinnamon pecans with white chocolate. I'll show you what they look like before I've cut them up, and I just rough chopped them. But here's what they look like. So they're just cinnamon roasted, and then they have the white chocolate. So you've got that sweetness from the white chocolate. And I'd say maybe that's 1/4 cup. I just rough chopped those up. You don't have to use them. I like it. I just think it adds a nice little extra flavor and a little extra sweetness. So you can see how it's melting down, how the white chocolate is melting off of those. I could have waited till it cooled, put them in, but I kind of wanted to see how nice it would melt. And I'm also going to add some walnuts. So if you wanted to just add some walnuts or just pecans to it, that would be perfectly fine. Now I'm going to put it in my bowl here. Putting it in a glass bowl just because I think the red color is so pretty, so Christmassy. All right, so there you go, homemade cranberry sauce. I hope you'll try it. It really is good doing it this way. Sometimes the canned sauce can be a little bit too sweet, so try making it yourself. It's not that hard, as you can see. I'm going to put this in the fridge, and when we're ready to eat, it will be ready to eat. Just cool it off some. So I hope you try it. I hope you enjoy it, and buon appetito.